So I get mixed stuff going on here. I'm touring, for lack of a better term. I'm doing, what do we call those, Reed? Seminars?
Community
events. Community events with the consulate. And I didn't realize when we went to the first one, it was this little tiny dinky, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. Which was it? 8 in the morning? That first one we went to?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Which just did not make sense. I'm going to be talking to...
not a lot of people at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, right. 8 housewives that likely send their kids to the school across the street, which is about what it looked like. But one of the gals is in charge of these community events for the consulate. And we did not know this. And so, I don't know, I just did my thing and answered questions and so on and so forth. And really the message is, look, we've had our Arpaio in our backyard before, 10 seconds ago. We don't have that going on right now. So breathe deep. Be careful who you hang out with. If they're trafficking weapons, drugs, or children, probably don't hang out with them. And they're not really that focused on you right now. Now, if you just so happen to be caught in the net, that's not good. So be careful what nets you're in. So I just give them a little bit of a message of hope. Keep your cars and all that, but the police aren't going to deport you for having a busted left tail light. The reality is, to calm your nerves, maybe don't have a busted tail light. All right, so on and so forth. So it's kind of the message is no tenga miedo. Don't be scared. Let's just be smart, and we're gonna be all right. The pendulum has swung very, very rapidly and very, very far. However, I think the pendulum has swung purposefully, and I think there's no. I believe, and I would love to get your take on this, but I don't think that it's on accident that we have Homan, who is very out there and very verbal and very aggressive with what he's trying to achieve. It looks like Trump's negotiation style to me. I'm going to take 98% of everything you've ever had and your children and everybody. I'm not talking immigration right now. I mean, this is just how he rolls. No, I want Greenland. I want it, all of it. We're just going to own it. Well, 10 seconds later, we have what we really wanted from the get-go, which was the rights to minerals and things of that nature that we're reliant upon with China. Brilliant. So he just started high and resolved right where he wanted to resolve it. That seems to be the way he rolls. So he gets a lot of, whoa, and then, oh, wait a minute. That landed right here. So we're going to tariff Mexico. And then all of a sudden, we're not tariffing Mexico, and we have folks on the border, and we have blah, blah, blah. Canada, same exact thing. And I know Canada's near and dear to your heart.
I spent some time there, yeah.
Yeah, you spent some time. You're practically Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, you were once.
A couple years, for sure.
Yeah. So now the message is changing. So I get scared, and then I don't know what you're dealing with right now, but it's back to scared, and then not. It kind of goes in lulls. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I see the shooting for the stars type of thing. I mean, taking the whole apple. He's not starting in a place of compromise, and maybe your hope is that it ends up being that way. And for certain things, that could potentially be true. I don't know if the rhetoric on immigration or political side that I deal with is going to start so hard, and maybe a lot of people will self-deport or whatever else, and then we'll see what we can do with the rest. I'll tell you that I had the same thought that we weren't going to see, we were going to see the targeting of the criminals and whatever else. I'll tell you the reality is that that's extended way farther than that. And I didn't know if it would or not, but for example, I had just got off a phone call an hour ago where a guy that had been back and forth on his visitor's visa, valid for a long time, happened to overstay his visa by 3 weeks, and ICE was at his house. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, me neither.
So, I mean, his visa just expired in December, his permit to be here, and they were knocking on his door in February. And so that is not a criminal. That's not, in fact, those were the ones that were the lowest priority on the totem pole before, because, I mean, he probably was eventually going to go back. He overstayed. I'm not saying he didn't violate those terms.
They're in ink.
But they know who he was because he crossed the border. And so I don't know how they knew where he lived or where he was living. He was staying with a family member.
Did the family member have guns that they were trafficking?
No, they were specifically looking for this guy. So now he's in Florence, and the family's asking, do we fight his case? And I'm like, there's not really, he hasn't violated many terms of immigration. He's actually still under he doesn't even have a penalty of unlawful presence yet until you pass 6 months. But he's, I guess, gone too far from the border, basically, because his visa was only...
Can he renew that visa?
Technically, yes, but once there's some kind of mark on his visa of having overstayed, even though it's technically not a penalty, there's still discretion on it. And so I would guess that he's going to have problems crossing the border in the future.
Can you use that discretion when you argue that?
That he will maybe have a potential hard time getting back? What?
Well, the fact that there's some discretion means that a judge can potentially
what I mean by discretion, I mean by the border officer. So no, I can't use it.
So it's an officer,
I'm never there.
Period. It's like an ALJ.
Yeah. It's just weird. And that discretion
ALJ,
exists.
administrative law judge that really isn't a judge. It's an administrator that thinks they're smart.
That pretends to be on TV. Yeah. No, the discretion on the border is completely discretionary for every entry.
Man, I just totally put us on a radar.
I don't know. Not for me. I don't deal with ALJs. So that's all you.
Oh, boy.
I just flew right by that because I don't have to deal with that. So
they are just the joke of the century. Everyone considered them the coward of the county. Anyway, I don't care. They know. They're getting paid a government salary.
There's enough lawyer jokes that we get to deal with, so they get to deal with that.
Yeah, they can deal with it.
Yeah. No, but yeah, there's discretion on the border all the time. So even if you have a valid visa, they can technically say, well, I don't believe that you're going to come and visit, and they can deny you. So that's just going to exist even more for somebody like this guy. Yeah. So trying to get back it will be a difficult thing. But I was talking to the family going, okay, but you don't have a spouse, you don't have kids. Like, he was here just visiting in the first place. How much do you want to really fight this and stay in detention and whatever?
And how much do you want to tell him to get here, have a bunch of kids, and find yourself a gringa? And so on.
They did ask that if he gets married, if he's got a girlfriend, if he gets married, I'm like, yeah, that changes the circumstance. But the point of that conversation was less of this guy specifically, but just that the climate, when you talk about pendulum swing, it was not, I mean, there's perception that we're arresting the gang members, but I thought that might be the case for the first week or two, but I'm seeing a lot of people caught up in stuff that I've never seen before. So yeah, the enforcement is heavy right now.
Heavier. Well,
what I don't know is if the 287G contracts are being actively done with Mesa PD.
Explain what that is.
So yeah,
I know that those aren't actively being done.
Okay. So yeah,
because I've been hanging with the consulate nowadays, and so I
know there's pressure for them to do that.
This is interesting. There is pressure. We walk in. Reed was there, and we'll get to Reed in a minute because he's going to make a big cameo on this one.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be good. Because we have a lot of people that need to be married to a gringo, and he's looking.
Oh, I see.
He's out there looking actively.
So we're actively prostituting Reed out to.
Right. He just so happens to be born here. He was born in East LA, no, San Diego. But nonetheless, he was born in the good old United States of America and speaks Spanish too.
Dude, I always tell people I wish I had that service. There was an immigration attorney that I know through the grapevine that I won't mention names that had a dating website connected to her firm thing.
Well, I mean, Maria did not really know that was. Why did you have to go with the face? I was just going with a very general name.
Oh, okay. I did not realize.
I didn't say the last name that just so happens to be Gringo. I didn't say the last name.
Okay, moving on.
Hey,
from
listen,
that,
a dating website is brilliant for business. I mean, come on.
I don't know that it exists anymore, but there was a time.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying. I mean, you're a coach.
Jesse's face speechless.
Look, I'm the one that gets referrals.
Somebody proposed me one time. I tried to hire an associate, and he was like one of these just go-getters, and I'm sure he's done well in life, but he had this proposal to me like, hey, I'm going to take like $50,000 in salary, but I want 10% of the business in a year, and then I want to start a bond company was his proposal on the side of the immigration side. And I was like, bro, you're messing with, you got to read your ethics rules and whatever else, what kind of conflicts you want to create where you're the bonds holder of your client's cases. Yeah. Like, come on, bro. But anyway,
that's a problem.
Those guys are,
that's a little bit of a problem. That's sticky mud.
Oh yeah, that's where I avoid any sticky mud. I don't want my license jeopardized. But some of these guys are like, just whatever hands they can put themselves in, and they see the connections. And I get it. I get the connection. We were referring bonds companies all the time, but there was no way I was going to be the bond holder of. I have clients ask me to pay the bond sometimes.
The bondsman that we use, the bondsman that we use is trying to get into federal bond, and he's finding it to be ugly. But if he does end up going that way, he'd be great. Yeah. I mean, he's a human first. It's interesting how that particular industry is. We can talk a while about the bond industry. It's a pretty ugly one at times. And boy, especially, but man, it's great to get a bond. That's like a dream come true for most folks that are sitting in immigration detention. Gold bars.
Gold cards?
Yeah, the gold cards.
Yeah, I hear that.
It has zero to do with immigration. But before I go there, kind of not. So you're just buying your way into the country.
Yeah, they're still immigrating. EB-5
they're immigrating into the country, I suppose, but they're paying their way. And I suppose the idea is industry. My question is, and it's a follow-up, and it goes back to our program that we'll end up taking. I don't know how.
No, it's not. I'll give you updates on that. This is not
our program. Our program will take.
Well, I'm giving you updates because right now they're trying to implement a quarter of your program right now.
I know. I saw it. It's what's her name, Noam, and they're just off the mark.
You want to get on that topic right now, or do you want to talk the gold card?
I don't know. I think I want to get on that topic, given the look you just gave me.
So alien registration is what they're calling it, and this was part of your suggestion. Okay. So basically, they are requiring anybody above the age of 14 years old that is not documented or has not been fingerprinted by the government in some way. By that I mean, entered in with a visa, had a work permit, applied for a green card in some way. They're making anybody that had not had their biometrics run register with USCIS. And then they must carry an identification card with them at all times from that point on if they're 18 or older. Now, so that's part of your program.
Part of it, yes.
The part that they didn't progress or didn't subscribe to was, let's give you a benefit and motivate you to do this.
Right.
In fact, it's the opposite. They've clearly and explicitly said this is not going to provide any type of work authorization, not going to provide any legal presence to the United States. So I'm like, why do you think people are going to do this?
Well, it's problematic, Jesse, because...
Now that's, again, shooting for the stars and being like, we're going to make people do this.
It's problematic because we know something they don't know, and that's a problem. By they, I mean both sides, all sides of government. We know these people. Why would they have a distrust in our government?
And I don't get why and they're using, so it's like a kid, right? What do you get more response from? So, and I've had talks with child psychologists and psychiatrists and whatever else about how to deal with kids, and not my own, but just, or maybe sometimes my own, and just reading books and whatever else. Okay. Do you get better results? And Reed can answer this. If you scream at the kids and tell him to clean his room, or you say, hey, if you clean your room, I'll give you $10 in allowance or something like that. Where's the better results, right? Most people would tell you try to reward with positivity. You try to motivate with some kind of reward or some kind of reason to do it. That'll help a child see, or even just explaining the principle instead of just saying, I'm going to ground you for a week if you don't do this, right? So the government's taken the opposite. They haven't read their psychology books, and they're saying, $5,000 penalty jail time if you don't do it.
Right.
So they're trying to negatively motivate you to do it. And I don't know if it's going to work or not.
It's not going to work. I mean, it might have a few people grabbers, but the problem is the only thing that will work, because here's the thing. We get to work with undocumented people all the time. That's all you do. Or various degrees of documentation.
Whatever it is in immigration, sure. They're getting citizenship or residency.
And I get to deal with a lot of undocumented and sometimes, various levels of documentation. So, okay, whatever. If you were to ask any undocumented, any one of them, the straightforward question, which I've done, you knew you were taking a risk when you came here.
Sure.
Every one of them say yes. Every one of them acknowledge yes. They know, okay? So if you give them the opportunity to trust because they want to be here, and it's far better than them living in the shadows, we've talked about it ad nauseum, is far better than wherever they're coming from. And it's not because they're getting shot at, and it's not because they're in great humanitarian harm. It's economic.
Yeah, for
almost
a lot
every
of it.
time.
Yeah,
almost every time. Almost. There are.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Venezuelans
some,
and whatever else
sure.
that are in the middle of civil war and whatever else. But yeah, for the most
there
part,
are some. For the most
you're
part,
Mexican, and there's a lot of danger arguments. But unfortunately, Mexicans don't win asylums very often anyway, and so they're aware of that as well. So yeah, most of the time, it's a better life.
It's an
ability
economic
to work and
difference, right?
Raise your kids in a different environment.
And so, frankly, I like the kids that gravitate more towards the Latino culture. Some do, and some gravitate towards the cell phone, video game, piercings and tattoos and all that jazz. And look, I know we're in a loose society nowadays, but damn, when you come home with one of those, Reed, we got problems. Here's Reed. I didn't have to say clean your room. He could do a little bit better than he's been doing lately. However, he's a pretty clean individual. That said, he was getting a couple of B's and some A's. Reed's a bright kid. And what were you, a junior, I think? And he was driving a car. He, had the usual things that come with being a teenager that, was he paying for the car? No. Was he paying for the insurance? No. Was he, but he was a trustworthy fella outside of a few wrecks.
I've been there.
All within 6 months of time. Holy crap. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's carry on. He's walking by. It's been a few years since he, blah, blah, blah. And I had looked at his grades earlier that day. His mom had told me that they were at a certain spot because I'd asked, and they weren't bad at all. They're above average. He's walking. I don't know if he remembers this or not. You were in the kitchen. You were just walking by. And I said, hey, why do we got some B's? You're better than that. Let's up that effort. I never saw another B. That's him.
I have that conversation all the time. Good for you. My kids don't end up putting A's the next week. So
that's him. That's Clint. Lola kills herself, so I'll step off. Yeah, I'll step off Jess and Lola because they killed themselves on this thing. But that's Reed. Did I ever talk to you about it again? He's shaking his head no. Because people can't see you over there going, but I never had to talk to him about it again.
We need a camera facing this way.
Yeah, maybe we need a camera facing the person that we're trying to pimp out. I mean, you could marry and then, remarry and then
make yourself a living.
You could work for his old employee.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to drop names. We've already dropped one, and you saw the look on his face. So,
how many Marias in the planet are there?
A lot. That's what I was going for. It just so happens that the face
the
gave it
wrong
away,
name.
man.
I was just laughing at Jesse's face. That was
Dude, I am not going to Vegas with you.
I don't know. Well, I didn't know. I thought you knew more information than
I do.
Okay.
But nonetheless, it's still a very common name. All right. So that's it. Doesn't matter. I feel like the pendulum is swinging fierce. And the reason for it is because we've got a very worthless, incredibly worthless Congress. And the more this keeps trucking on, the more worthless they become. I'm finding very much a problem with our Congress, and always have found problem with Congress when it comes to immigration. The resolution, anything of worth, has to be done through them.
No, for sure.
We can execute away with the executive. That's temporary. We need real change, and I kind of think it's getting ugly enough. Not yet. We're going there. I think that we're going ugly enough to where they can finally they're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Both sides of the aisle are sitting there. They've got to squirm on some level because, and let me explain to you why I believe this. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the state we most dislike, you and I? Texas. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. Texas. You're never going to hear God bless Texas out of either one of our mouths. Texas kills our immigration bills every time. Texas. Why does Texas do it? Oil and agriculture. So it's far better for Texas, and I'm sure that I'm oversimplifying this, but it's far better for Texas, but it's not wrong. But it's simplifying, yes. It's far better for them to have them illegal. They're less expensive. You don't like when I talk that way. I understand. But we've got oil there, and most of their employees are undocumented or prior felons. That's it. That's like the majority of what works in the oil fields.
So if they rely on that, why do they just want to, they don't want to legalize them, but they also want to deport them? Like,
well, I mean, it's a revolving door.
I don't know.
It's a revolving door. We know this. I mean, it's just, there's more to come. They're right there in Texas. More to come. You're a farmer. You get a little bit more attached to your hands, to the folks that work with you. I mean, they live on the places. So the attachment level to them is more so than the oil companies. That said, it's still a revolving door there too. All right, so that's going to start becoming issuous. That's going to be an issue. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah,
and that's
the economy's already being affected already.
Right, if anything's more important than oil to Trump, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously we're seeing. I've always told you there's an economic impact to immigration, whether we think there is or not. I mean, some people are saying, we'll start with the tariffs, that the tariffs are now creating, more jobs in the United States. Maybe not. I don't know. But I know that the immigration issue itself, when we rely on cheap labor, which we have to, I argue that any successful capitalistic society has always relied on a subservient cheap labor class, whether it be, obviously we're not in days of slavery and Roman Empire or whatever else, but definitely we have a working class and we rely on that cheap labor in order to succeed. And that's when our economy succeeds. And so if we get rid of millions and millions of cheap labor, already inflation has not, in fact, it's higher than it was when Trump took office. And so I know that hopefully he's doing things that he thinks are going to eventually swing that pendulum back. But
there's no question that it's going to.
I think it's going to get worse if
it's going to get a little bit worse, and then it's going to get significantly better really fast. And then that's my issue right there. My issue right there is, now we just forgot about root causes. Now we just forgot about what's going to bite us after that part. So that's what I believe. I think that things are going to get really good in about a year's time. The problem is we're still reliant on, and you call it cheap labor, and it is. It's manual labor,
and it's cheaper. It's not subservient labor. Sure. It's still minimum wage.
No, it's like this.
I'm not seeing anybody, cut lower than minimum wage.
We've been hammering Reed out pretty good, and we're going to keep going. Somebody once told Reed to be scarce. Okay. And to define to be scarce, is that the word used? To be scarce. Let's define that. Have a skill. Be willing to work. Work hard with a skill. Okay, well, that's not inexpensive labor. Inexpensive labor is I can lift this box to that truck and do it over and over and over again and get a fair pay for that labor. Okay? I can work in the mailroom and I can sort mail. It doesn't require a significant skill. Then there's the next level skill. And then there's the next level skill. And then there's the next level skill. That's capitalistic society. That's how we roll. Mm-hmm. If you cut that, take the box to the truck, if you cut that off, which is frankly...
Then the skills drop a level, right?
Then all the skills drop, yes. And so that's the problem that we have. And so that's eventually going to happen regardless of how good economically we have it. The back or the futuristic piece of this thing is we can't be dropping somebody that's capable of doing something significant is now taking the boxes to and from the truck. We're not competing with the world market.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I have is that I think we're really narrow-minded on the government side of things right now in the sense that, and this is where I'm going to criticize Trump, his first thought was, let me reform immigration by offering a gold card, a $5 million buy yourself into the country because he wants more rich people here. I get that. And I get that rich people eventually might start businesses. But the problem is those businesses need to succeed still on the lower levels.
And they have the same needs.
They have this, when the number guy, $5 million guy is not going to come here and produce a factory that he has to pay guys $30 an hour to when he can outsource it to Malaysia, live here and have his factory in Malaysia produce stuff at 30 cents on the dollar. And so that's the way our society's always been done. And that's how millionaires become millionaires. Hopefully they can do it here in the United States. But in order to do that, they're going to have some kind of lower level.
To have labor that is affordable.
Correct. And that's where I think we're losing sight is that, okay, bring in the $5 million guy, but no $5 million guy is going to want to build a $20 million company.
The good tax cut is not enough.
No, absolutely.
It's not enough. It's not sustainable.
They have to produce. There has to be a margin, a percentage margin. And the only way you have a percentage margin is just...
No, I don't mind the tariffs. I just think that's going too far. So my point with this is... Okay. Do I want Detroit making cars? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I do. I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that we started making decent cars once, not very long ago. We started making good cars again. And then you blink and they're making them in Mexico and Canada. Okay. I'm not that offended by Mexico and Canada. They're our neighbors. So I would love to be doing trade with Brazil. I would love to be doing trade with
South
Argentina. South Central America. I'd love to be doing that's who we trade with predominantly. Yeah. Do I think Canada needs to be the 51st state? Maybe. Why not? I mean, we're protecting them since they began. Period. Like what army are they sending anywhere?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have strange brew going over to, some conflict in the world.
You're just going to offend everyone. I'm not offending any of my Canadian friends. Some of them
I like the Canadians. There's a reason why I like them. There's a reason. They're more concerned about their damn outfit than they are and their beer. Hey, this sword looks cool, eh? I mean, they're just not a war-mongering people at all. Have they ever even had one?
No, I mean, they've been in help they were in World War II and some of these things. We had a French-Canadian war back in the 1800s.
There you go. Here we go, 1800s.
They sent their full army of 15 guys.
Hey, you know what? They supplied, they made a good mess hall, and they were funny. I freaking love Canadians. I think they're great. I really do. But the reality is
and good for them. I mean, they get
the reality is they're situated
without having to worry about being in war all the time.
They're situated perfectly, and they've got an idiot country of ours sitting there spending money that we don't have to protect everybody in the world. Yeah. And they just so happen to be along for the ride.
They know that. You'll talk to Canadians. They know that
they just got their beanie on in the back, just going
hang out. They don't have to get involved in all the social issues in the world.
Yeah, and
get to comment on it.
And the second one of them gets cancer, they figure a way to get over here to get treated. Yeah. And so
they don't have a war industrial complex.
No, that's what we have one of those.
We started at with Vietnam, but we poked
After World War
World War
II.
II probably is the one.
After World War II.
But we were attacked on that one. That was a defense. That's a different story than that.
We just realized though
We
what could be
abused.
produced.
We realized how great and how much money there was in war, and we've been not shy about that. And somehow we explain away that it's a genius idea to attack Iraq when they didn't have anything to do with boots on the
9/11.
ground here, 9/11.
No, there's
So-
trouble next to Iran, right? It's like right next to
No.
great real estate.
It was his daddy's war that, let's carry on. It's just Saddam Hussein was Bush Sr.'s big apparent failure. And so Bush Jr. wanted to, so we got ourselves Saddam Hussein. Great. So what? Literally, so what?
The Canadians are just chilling while we're.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. They're basically
No one
California
attacks them.
5 years ahead.
huh, okay.
That's about what they are. They're California. Just look at Canada right now. That's what California will look like in 5 years. And then Canada will look like 5 years ahead of that in 5 years. So carrying on, and they're incredibly good people. They're just the kindest of sorts. I suppose because they don't have to scrap for nothing. I don't know, but
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I like those folks. That said, the gold bar thing, not a big fan of. I mean, if it works, it works. I don't see it working. I don't see Porsche going,
That
hey,
doesn't solve an immigration problem. In
no,
my
it's not
opinion.
even an immigration. It's not an immigration thing.
It's Trump's idea of, I'm going to throw something positive on the immigration side. Here's a reform for you. Give me $5 million. And I mean, that's such a rich guy thing to think of.
Totally.
So I'm sorry.
I love this. Okay, because this is going to come back to bite us when we're working with them.
I mean, I'll do a whatever it's. I don't even
This
know what
is
it's going to
gonna
be
come
called.
back to bite us.
But the funny thing is EB5s is what this program is replacing what's called the EB5 program, and EB5 program was so rarely used because of the requirements that it required. I mean, it was a $1 million investment instead of a $5 million investment, but the wait time was still 10 years, and it was a mess. And so I don't know if this is just a $5 million golden ticket. You don't have to wait in line and you just do it. I don't know what
I'm assuming that, but don't you think Trump, and let's just say he takes 5 of the Doge people, and don't you think they could just work the phones for half a day?
Elon can bring in all his friends,
Right,
sure,
and
whatever.
Elon could be one of the 5. And I'm just saying they just work the phones and they call up the dude for Ferrari and the dude for Porsche and whoever else they might know, the people that we wouldn't even know to know, and just say, hey, Crown Prince of Syria, come open that one thing over here and we got it. Okay.
I think those people were going to be able to come. We've always accepted money.
They're already here.
I know. I mean, I don't understand what this is going to do other than a lot of people are going to have beach houses apparently that maybe couldn't have them before. I have no idea.
Well, they can't insure them anymore. I mean, it's insane.
Like I said, I don't understand that this is not going to open the bar up to a whole new immigration policy. I'm okay with a merits-based system, but just to throw out $5 million as the only requirement seems a little silly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how many cartel bosses are going to be able to buy into the country? I didn't even think about that.
All right. So to repeat what Paige just brought up, cartels can pay that. Which
Easy.
they probably already bought 15 bars.
Yeah, they probably have. That's probably how they got.
You keep calling them bars. What are you talking about? Gold cards. It's
whatever.
green card. It's a play on
When I
word.
think of gold, when I think of gold, I don't think of like the gold.
They're not bringing
platinum.
gold bars to the United States.
That'd be kind of cool, though.
Yeah, gold cards.
Well, apparently they're auditing that, Fort Knox, and we might need bars in there.
You're mixing your news stories up, bro.
Oh, I can't be mixing the headlines.
How I got in was that.
Well, can I keep calling them bars just for fun?
You're going to confuse the crap out of people and bringing gold bars to the United States.
Okay, gold cards for our 1,000. Hey, tell a friend and support us and go to subscribe, comment, and send us money somehow.
So we can buy gold bars.
Yeah, so we can buy gold bars. Exactly. All right. So that's an interesting point, though, is the cartel. and their ability to potentially purchase.
I mean, he's
Insurance.
he spouts off. I don't even know if this is an actual thing.
I don't.
But I just was like, of all the first things to introduce, hey, if you got 5 million, come on in.
Trump is a walking negotiator. I mean, he is negotiating just what step to take on the stairway. I mean, every time he is awake, which is rare, he is thinking on how to negotiate something. Now, I like the way that he's thinking about Ukraine. Look, we gave you a crap ton of money. You can't account for it. Neither can anybody else around these parts. So we're dealing with that on our own end. But we want your raw earth minerals. We want something for this. And somehow you got to know that he's already talked to Putin about, hey, dude, I want something for what the money we send here, but let's end this war thing. And Putin's probably going, all right, let's go, blah, blah, blah. So to me, I dig that.
No, I think when foreign relations and international stuff, I'm totally okay
he's
with
crazy
that.
good about that stuff.
We'll see on this, like I said.
Mainly because you and I don't want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we both lean that way heavily. I don't want to be on the Gaza Strip.
No.
But the fact that he's like, well, just on the Gaza Strip, and then all of a sudden, Egypt is like, wait, what? And Syria is like, wait, what? And you've got all sorts of attention to the Gaza Strip, and you got to think Trump's just back there going.
And that aggressiveness totally works on and can work on the international level. Like I said, when back to our immigration topic, it's a little tougher on the domestic level because,
well, we know them.
Yeah, these are our neighbors, these are our friends.
We know them. They're
clients.
Every one of them would say, "Yeah, I took that risk."
And even me, I'm like, I'm going to see it. Going to hotels, you're going to see increased prices. Building houses. We're going to see
verbos are going to go up because who cleans those, so on and so forth.
Sure.
Home costs.
I mean, everything basically, like you said, no matter what job you do,
has been touched.
And there's just going to have a lower level person. There's attorneys in the office, there's paralegals, there's receptionists, there's process servers. There's levels, and then up to your cleaning crew that cleans my office as well. And if you're getting rid of that, then somebody else is having to do it, and then.
It's interesting. So what's going to happen is that lower level falls off, and then the level right there and do we have anybody?
I don't know. That's the other thing is are there people willing to do this stuff? I mean, I know that there's not. The agricultural industry would argue heavily that there's not U.S. citizens that are willing to pick lettuce and cabbage and whatever else.
And they're not wrong.
They're absolutely
not wrong.
Because they try and hire and they last for about a week.
Well, the problem is the option is our prison system.
I was just wondering.
That's a big option, but it does not fill the gap.
It doesn't.
It just doesn't come even close to filling the gap.
And the security of that and whatever else.
Sure, I'm not saying security. I'm saying, those that
just
are
meaning,
out. I'm just saying those that have paid their debt to society. I mean, that they're willing, at least at the inception, to do such things. Okay, that's fine. And that's an opportunity, for sure, for these folks that have been incarcerated for however long.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity. They will take that. However, do they fall back into whatever they were into before?
And do they work as hard?
Oftentimes, do they work as hard? Are they used to working? Yeah. All of these things are. So the answer is it's not a solution. That's the answer. It's not a solution. It might be a great story.
Yeah, that'd be
from time to time.
But is the agricultural industry going to want to hire a bunch of cons to work on it? Not that they don't deserve it, but is that going to be what they want their majority of their workforce to be?
Well,
you got all kinds of issues with that. Like that might fill a stopgap of a very few.
I'm going to say that it's a fun story.
Yeah.
It will not fix the problem.
No.
What we have here is a problem, failure to communicate.
And we just identified the agricultural industry.
Right.
We haven't talked about every factory and everything that relies on labor.
Everything.
The hospitality industry, for one, is
hell's fire Amazon, for criminy sake. I mean, who do you think's putting things in boxes?
Yeah.
Not him. He wears a tie and is in air conditioning. And he's 21 years old and could probably break
and
a
the
sweat.
problem is there'll be less people that will be able to wear ties in the future if we don't have a cheap labor force.
Do people hear that? You need to re-say that.
I need to say
that was
I need
big.
to wear my tie. Yeah, no, there's less executives, there's less managers, there's less higher levels if we are having to do the lower levels. Like we
Right.
start back from the beginning. And so
Went to the tire shop down the street. Love Gunnels.
yeah, you said
Plug for Gunnels. Love Gunnels.
the Gunnels should be a sponsor. You've mentioned them several times.
See, Gunnels, you should be a sponsor. All right. If they watch this, they might be part of our 1,000 people. I think we have 1,000, like 5 or 6 now.
You have 1,114, or so 1,114.
Hey, just keep
We're
track.
rolling, man. Anyway, my point is, so Gunnels, you go there and you talk to Jeff and you talk to Cody. And that's father-son duo. And Cody's rolling in the ranks and, getting closer and closer to Jeff, which is high cotton. He's solid. But underneath these two, you've got the gals at the front that are checking folks out, making sure that they get their keys, the right card, all that jazz. They got their ticket and the little cone thingamajigger they put on the rig. And then, boom, you go into the garage and you've got the dudes lifting the tires and putting them on and taking them off. And, you've got some of those that are just doing that and making sure that those bolts go back on. Then you've got other ones that are looking at the brakes, and those are a little bit higher level. And then you got some of them that are looking at motors and what's going on with the alignment and so on, a little bit higher level. I mean, even at this small tire shop.
And then you got the guys bringing the tires that are driving them in.
And then you've got the delivery tire guys that are sitting there getting delivered. Yes.
And taking them out to the garbage.
It's an ecosystem.
Sure.
It's an ecosystem right there. This small tire shop, my favorite tire shop in the whole wide world. Everybody should go there. Gunnels on Main, and not the one on Gilbert. Gunnels on Main. I just made enemies right there. And that said, it's an ecosystem, and that literally you could take that, and you could take America, and they would look identical in what they need and how to thrive.
We lose sight of that sometimes when we're dealing with these political issues, unfortunately. And that's exactly, we're not solution oriented. And hopefully you are. Hopefully you are. You're optimistic.
You already know that I'm solution oriented. I'm trying to get us in there.
I'm talking about as a society, a political society right now.
No, our political society is not solution oriented.
Yeah, hopefully it's that your optimism that there is a strategy to all of this.
I think there's a strategy.
That it's going to come back
I just
around.
don't know how much I buy it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I think there's a strategy, and I do think that there's going to be
I just hope we don't overswing and then can't recover.
I just think that there's a short-term, really good benefit from it, and by short-term, maybe even a decade. However, it's not a long-term solution. This ecosystem of the tire shop and the United States of America are identical. They have the exact same needs. They look the same, every level, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So you hit the nail on the head.
I mean, anybody that's worth a spit that has studied how economies are strong, they're going to realize this. And that's why sometimes I feel like we get lost in...
Well, there are some businesses that do better than others. There is a reason for that. And so it just comes down to, you've got to look at this that way. So being solution oriented, and the way you just dropped that, is our political class solution oriented? And the answer is not no, it's hell no.
Yeah, and
so we have an executive swinging blades and doing things that need to be done.
And Trump's smart about, Trump, like you said, Trump's a smart guy in the sense that he's been in the business world, and I like that about him. I just hope he has enough huevos, we'll call him, to be able to manage who he's put in place.
No question.
Because he's put some wild cards in place that are not business oriented. They are enforcement oriented. They are policy oriented, and they've been in political or law enforcement their whole entire life. And so that's their focus. And so that part of it is who he's put in place. If he can do enough to manage and say, okay, this is in place and we're going to get some things done, but on the same time, I'm working on the back end, then great. But, even Trump, outsourced his ties to Singapore. Like, I got my Trump tie. It says made in Singapore. Right. He made in Malaysia, whatever it was. He knows how his companies, how he became the president of the United States by making billions of dollars. And his hotels are absolutely full of people that are not documented.
Be on Holman's list.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So I hope he knows how our country
what
works.
We do know,
but
what you and I know, and this is an interesting thing, is there's a side to Holman that most of his lean is a yes man and to do the job, to get it done. But he's seen it. He's seen the hurt that you and I have seen. He's seen the devastation. He's seen the rapes. He's seen the ugly side of things. He's seen the separations. He's seen what he talks about, that kid that he held and so on and so forth. I don't think he's BSing. I don't think that's the only kid he probably held.
I trust Holman more than I do Stephen Miller, but that's what I'm saying.
Agree.
We got lots of people in there that are behind the scenes. So
our point, I suppose, is, okay, let's get it to where we're not there anymore. So he's solution oriented with Doge, meaning, all right, you guys go in there. The solution is open your books. We're going to audit. Okay, that seems like a solution. And if we find waste, we're going to figure this out. Okay, great. I like that. Every checkbook needs a good audit. That said, immigration is literally no different.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you for maybe next podcast, because I don't want to, but so I've got lots of emails and questions and text messages in the last few days from my colleagues that are working for the Department of Homeland Security, judges, attorneys. They've gotten their famous, you've probably seen it in the news, the fork in the road email. Have you heard that?
Yes.
So basically retire early or we may make you resign. So they're cutting jobs like crazy. 20 immigration judges fired last week. USCIS officers laying off hundreds and rumors of hundreds more. If we're trying to get enforcement to react in a efficient and quick way, why is Doge and why is that eliminating the people that do that job?
Because I think they're trying to eliminate the job.
I know they're trying to, yeah, and so that's where I'm going with that. Are we going to now not have a legal system of immigration here and it's just going to be enforcement? Is that where we're leaning towards?
It does feel that way.
We're going to get rid of the immigration courts altogether?
I don't think that it's doable.
I don't either. I don't think it's constitutional.
I don't think it's
There's
doable.
no balance of powers there,
Right.
but I don't know what the plan is here right
I don't
now.
believe that it's doable, but I don't know what's in the back pocket, if anything.
Because big complaint is, look, there's procedures in place that have to be followed when immigrants get into process. If they're not qualifying for expedited removal, they need to see a judge. They have to do these. These are all in place, congressionally mandated, whatever else. But you are now taking at least 20 judges last week that heard 700 cases a year. So you've just eliminated 18,000 cases now are going to be in a backlog, even more of a backlog that already exists, heavy. Now is the thought we're going to just put in our own judges, and these judges are going to have very specific mandates, which is completely unconstitutional because a judge is supposed to be a neutral body. But I don't know what their plan is.
All right, Jesse. So here's what I think.
Because some of the judges that have retired are extremely conservative. Like one of the judges, I'm so happy he's gone because he was really hard. But he took the fork in the road email and went on his way.
I wonder what he's going to do.
I don't know. So that's what I'm wondering why he was even offered it, because he would have been, if they would have read his reviews were terrible, but they were coming from our side saying this guy doesn't listen to anything we say. And so he would have been a key.
Here's our uphill. Okay. I'm gonna do a thought experiment and breathe deep here. I'm gonna ask you to dig a little.
But this is a topic and we may not have time, so I didn't mean to introduce it in the last 5 minutes.
I don't think that it's hard. I don't think it's hard. We're talking where we want all 1,014 people. 1185. We want them to tell everybody to watch this and subscribe. We need to be big now because what we're talking about, nobody talks about. And it's because we know what we're talking about. We see it. We're boots on the ground, and we're not against enforcement, and we're not against the legal processes, and we're for a solution.
Yeah,
we're for a solution. But we talk about what you just said, that the executive, meaning enforcement, meaning deportation, get rid. We're talking to 60+% of our population would just as soon get rid of them, period. Just get rid of them. The problem with our 60% of our buddies out there, because we don't think much different than you guys. We don't. We don't think much different than, yeah, we understand there's a lobby and broke. We understand that there's this. We understand the outlook there, that these people broke the law to get here and that they're, occupying jobs and they're doing things in our country and in having sometimes a negative effect, but overall, unfortunately, this 60+% of people don't understand the positive. They don't take a step back and go, wait a minute.
What would happen?
Wait a minute.
Without it?
Without this, I don't have that on my doorstep. Without this, my lawn's not mowed. Without this, the restaurant prices just tripled. Tripled. Can you get your arms around that, guys? Yeah. Tripled. All right? Reed would have to stop eating out. And that's crazy because I don't think he can. He's strung out on it. So, I mean, everything that we do, our gas, oil, all of those things are going up. Everything's going up. Our homes, every little tiny thing that we have in our life goes up. So our politicians are not solution oriented. Trump is an enigma. Okay, he's an enigma and he's a once in a lifetime and here we go. But he's an enigma. But once we go back to politics as usual, we're right back to square. And that's what I fear, that these 60+% of people that just as soon deport without the process aren't thinking through it. We need to look at this differently.
Are they going to hold back Trump from doing things because he's worried about his pride of actually coming to a solution, or does he not care?
Yeah, at the end of the day,
I hope he doesn't care.
I don't.
It's
think
a lame duck president. It doesn't matter.
I don't think he cares. There's that, but I also think that he already achieved what he needed to. Like literally 60 seconds into his presidency, he closed the border, and that needed to have happened, and for a time, and then now we need to reassess it. I think that would have been the best show of force. Close the border. Now let's reassess. What are we going to do? You're not going to have cooperation in Congress because Congress is not solution oriented. There's a few folks rolling around over there, but I mean, there's one Rand Paul. There's one Kennedy over there that and then there's some loud ones. And frankly, that's about it. Yeah. And we need to expect solutions from our politicians. We need not expect words and crying at doorsteps and opinions and this. Let's do the do. The do matters. For the love of Pete, do something. Yeah. It's just, I have a congressperson in my blooming at my church.
Well, the DREAM Act was introduced yesterday in Congress again.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
For the fifth time?
For the fifth time.
We'll see if it goes. Oh, some form of it, maybe even more than that.
Look, I'm all for fine, but that's such a drop of, that's a squirt of piss in the ocean.
I know. I would just love it to be something.
It is something. It is something.
And it's a start that has bipartisan support.
Well, we got gold cards. And the DREAM Act that was introduced. And you know what? I bet you it may pass.
Paige says she wants to do a question and answer session the next time. So next pod is just Paige's questions.
Okay. Oh, should we do that? Can you remember them, or are you hot right now?
I'm hot now, but I can write it.
I unfortunately am hot to go to a consultation in 5 minutes.
He's rolling.
I just have one question.
One question, and then he's got to go.
We can elaborate later. But
Her quick questions are long.
Country that gives process to any illegal immigrant? I'm really asking.
Meaning gives.
Like, so if Britain or France, or if they find, if there is someone there illegally, is there
A deportation process? Sure.
Is there a judge, or are they just judged?
Kind of thing? You can go to your thing. I can answer this, and Reed can sit in your chair.
Yeah, you want to interview
Reed?
No.
Here's the thing. There is one country in the world that has a First Amendment, freedom of speech, and a Second Amendment. There is no other country in the world that has those two things. That matters in the question that you just asked. Okay, so everybody else's immigration process is not going to look
Won't look
due
the exact same, but I
process.
can tell you that Canada. I was a witness and translated for one of my investigators on my church mission for a Canadian immigration process. They were trying to get asylum in Canada, and so there is something in Canada. I know there is something in Australia because Australia has a court system.
Yep.
I'm assuming if I looked into it, Europe probably does too, and especially with the European Union because. Your illegal immigration in the European Union it's hard to be an illegal immigrant sometimes because unless you're coming from North Africa, as long as you've got some European citizenship of some country, you can travel liberally usually throughout Europe. So
found me living there. Would they ship me back? Or would I, like, without any kind of,
due process or whatever else.
well, on the front
No,
end,
due
would they
process
try
is
and
kind of
shut
unique
up?
to us.
Places like Germany have terrible.
I don't know.
Just asking.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'd have to look into the immigration
Nobody's
systems
going there.
of other
I
countries.
guess what I was trying to wonder is Trump just getting back to what everyone else does kind of thing, and then the prices.
But we're not
eventually
everybody
rise.
else. The problem
So
is
that's the-
we're America.
Yeah, I mean, England was never founded on a country of immigrants, and so that's part of their issue. Yeah, and I think
Right.
Dana's got a point there. Is that when your fiber of your country is founded? No. I'm saying that if your fiber of your country is founded on immigrants, we are different in that way, I think, and so you're right. I don't think Estonia or something is worrying about a bunch of immigrants. They also don't have
Iran's not worrying about it.
They're also not the lighthouse on the hill, and they don't have the economy that we have, and the reason that we are who we are.
We can
so.
sell gold cards.
Yeah.
Like if Russians were crossing into Ukraine, or
Nobody wants to go to Russia, so that's the
but
problem.
if they were
So
crossing out, would Ukraine take them, or would they think? Anyway, I'm just wondering if that's kind of what he's just all about.
and there's the immigration that goes on throughout
Yeah.
Europe, and there was a big when Syria was in their war, and they were sending a lot of people on boats.
Yep.
You know,
They had a lot of
certain
refugees
European
going on.
countries were accepting them, certain weren't, and so
Yeah, they just open up. It's like you look at a newspaper ad and say, "Oh, Jordan's taking refugees right now."
But definitely,
Going.
like Italy and Sweden and all those, they were putting people in refugee camps and then waiting for asylum hearings and different things like
Yeah,
that.
Poland.
So there is a process.
Poland was doing
Sure.
it for the
I just don't-
Ukrainian.
I don't know what.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just
But I don't know if you were just living there and I don't think they have immigration officers like we do where we're knocking down doors or whatever else. But if somehow you came to the attention that you were there illegally, they might send you something in the mail saying, get out of here. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just wondering. Okay.
Well, we're going to get rid of Westover now, and Reed's going to slide in the seat.
I'm missing your talk. Come on in, Reed.
Because Reed doesn't even know the DREAM Act. He's never even heard of it.
Yeah, we're going to
And
explain
I don't
that.
know what it is, and that's.
Permanent
Oh.
program for DACA. There you go.
Ooh.
Basically, DACA kids can.
Hey, good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Full report on that basketball stuff.
Next week, hopefully we're still in the
Jesse.
playoffs. See you.
I'm hoping so, man. Good luck.
Oh, you actually want me in?
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay.
Oh. I didn't know about that.
are you single?
Yeah,
Yeah. How old are you?
21.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 21. Available?
I thought she was asking me the questions.
No, not available? Are you
After 5.
Are you a U.S. He's got a job. Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yeah.
Are you in school?
Call 1-800. Makes a lot. Anyway, so we were talking about there are too many people. And so both of you can talk now. And we just lost our immigration expert guru. Too many people don't know anything about, don't know S about Shinola. And that's most of Americans. And they don't know what a solution is if it hit them in the face. And that is all of Congress and all the House. Let's just call it, it's politics. That's politics. From the federal level all the way down to our smallest local level. Okay? Okay. So, what we need is solution-oriented focus. We need to start demanding from our politicians that we elect. You are now voting. That we elect, that we want to see solutions. I don't want to hear them talking on the floor and arguing and calling people stupid and this and that. I want, okay, what's the solution, okay, to whatever we're talking about? What's the solution to narrowing the budget? So we get to see Trump doing things that are solution-oriented, and it's getting a lot of attention for good and bad, okay? But what makes it so weird to our media CNN, CNBC, even Fox, whatever media, what makes that all so weird, everything that Trump's doing so different is its solution. Okay, so you're 21. You don't know that there has not been a solution out of the Senate or Congress since it began. Like the way that Lincoln had to get the 14th Amendment. Let's go do some study up on that. Everybody thinks that it was Honest Abe. Honest Abe was a great president, probably one of the greatest we've ever had. But trying to get that 14th Amendment,
It's a lot of change.
he may have bent a little bit of honesty some. Some people can go ahead and just message me on that because I'm a little bit studied up there. That said, it doesn't mean I'm right, and I'd love your comments. Abraham Lincoln knew the importance of that 14th Amendment. That's a solution, meaning we just fought a war where more people died on our continent than has ever happened since. And if we don't have that 14th Amendment, it's done, or it's just an executive order when he's out of office.
It just changes the next time.
It just changes next president. And back to slavery we go. How interesting. Not many people know that that was a solution. It had to be codified. Yes, the North won the war, but it had to be inked through a very unsolutioned, unpurposed, slack-jaw, wingnut, big-wig party called the Congress. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. You're just getting fat on tax money. That's it. You're just getting a little bit of barbecue sauce on your fingernails, eating a lot of pork. So I'm not a big fan of politicians. I'm a big fan of solutions. So what do you think we should do?
For what?
He doesn't know.
In general, what do you think we should do?
In the United States?
In the United States of America.
The United States of America. What do I think? What is my agenda? Well, I agree. There needs to be some kind of solution with the immigration policy. We can't just have it one way or the other. We need to have like some kind of codified, set in stone. Like this isn't political. You can't argue it on the right or left side of the spectrum anymore. Where you actually have, well, these are the rules and everybody agrees that these are the rules, like an amendment. Amendments are a very solid way of, fundamentally changing how the rules work. And if Trump wants to really set in stone something different in his U.S. history, it would be to have some kind of amendment.
That is what we're
place.
shooting for, an amendment. And you are brilliant. He is a very smart young man.
First, we need to know the reality of it, right? So we can
But
make a
first, like I said with Jesse when he was sitting here, like I said, 60% plus of the American voting public would just as soon see him get deported without process, without anything else, without anything.
because they don't understand the
And
reality.
they don't understand what they are getting from illegal immigration. Oh, I said it. They don't get what they're getting from illegal immigration. But we weren't so shy about saying that back in Reagan's time. What made immigration great was it was illegal. That's what made it great. Frankly, nowadays, because it's less expensive.
Cheap labor force.
That's the reason.
That is the
Because
reason.
our kids don't work. Our class system is definitely dependent on the least of the. You're only as good. Okay, in a sports analogy, you're only as good as the worst player on your team. Okay, it took Michael Jordan 6 years to figure that out. 6 years of getting killed. Now they went to the playoffs, but he was getting literally maimed. Himself, because everyone was just focusing on inflict pain on your airness. On the one. And they did. And they did some more, and they did some more, and he got tougher, and he got tougher, and he got tougher. But where did he get tougher? That's the interesting part. Not just personally. Where did he get tougher?
Start toughing up the team.
Practice. He was the first one there, last one to leave, was unapologetically in their face all the time. Rodman showed up to Vegas. He went and got him, yanked him back, and Rodman said, I didn't do that, no more. Yada, yada, yada. He realized that he needed that. What am I trying to say with this? We need to understand that it's going to take a team. So whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, we can first identify we've got an immigration problem. Second, we need to identify we have solution problems. Third, we need to identify, all right, let's fix this. All right? It's the biggest problem we have there is, and I'm going to say this straight-faced, is we have stupid people that we elect. They are not bright. They are not bright. They are not bright. They're as dumb as a box of bloody rocks.
How do we know that? How do we know, why do we elect them? Because they said the right thing?
No, because they got enough money. Ran a good campaign.
And said the right thing? The people.
Yeah, sure, you can read some talking points, a little teleprompter and this, that, and the other, but the reality is you get enough airtime and you see your name enough. It's like, why do people hire Raffi? Is Raffi that good of a dadgum? Are they that good of lawyers? If you had your arm cut off and you pitched for the Diamondbacks, would you hire Raffi? It's a good question. Would you?
They're our next door neighbors.
I don't care. Would you? Okay, you're the best left-handed or one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball.
No one would hire it.
Hell no. There is not a chance in God's green earth that anybody would hire Raffi for anything of that magnitude. What does that make Raffi? A good marketer. What is our congressperson? A good marketer.
Thank you. Now you've answered there's a problem to fix. That's interesting.
So we have lazy people that vote. So 60+% of people just say, I just deport them. And then all of a sudden their Grubhub doesn't show up nearly as fast. And this 60% is like, what happened? Well, let's see. You deported everybody that had a hand in getting that to there that fast and efficiently.
Personally, that's what you and I kind of stand for, is do it themselves or do.
Oh, I'm all about do it yourself, but most people are not. Okay? Most people are not fit. Most people don't think about what they eat. Most people don't think about what they drink. Most people aren't really that goal-oriented. Wake up and become Americans again.
How else are they going to do it unless they're rugs?
Well, unfortunately, it's devastating to a very, very important part of our culture. I mean, whether we want to admit it or not, the Latin influence in our culture, the Latino influence is huge. It's huge. And it's not just cartel. It's not just drug running. Yeah, the Americans are doing a whole lot of that too. All right, so we're tied. Let's call that even.
We're working with them. We're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking plenty of their money. But the reality is what do they produce? A lot. And they produce a lot of our culture. And they're not a lazy culture. When I have somebody come in here to talk to me about a legal matter, and if they're, let's just say, a U.S. citizen, they're alone. I mean, you sit up front all day long. You see the lone wolf come in and talk to me about whatever, their DUI or their drug possession or whatever else, okay? Or their divorce or their car accident. They're alone. 10 out of 10 times or sometimes they have a +1, right? But what if it's Latino?
Oh, yeah.
Family.
Oh, man, you got to start selling tickets. We'd go rich. Do you remember the time, and hopefully that microphone's hot, because you remember the time where somebody had to make, it was a pretty ugly case. And it was a pretty expensive one. And there was like 18 different people giving their debit cards.
Yeah. For like $50 here. Or like
Yeah.
150. Yeah.
18 different people. Like it was a ton of people. I remember that going, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that. If that person were a gringo, That ain't happening.
Silence.
Yep, that ain't happening.
Yeah, you're right. Not that part.
So it's an interesting piece of our culture. And so you are the future. You're what I'm working for now, is for you to open your eyes. Because someday you will be a dad, and someday you will be a bigger contributor to our society. You're already contributing today well for your age group. Okay, I'm not looking to just blow up his skirt. He still hasn't hit on the chick at the gym.
You know,
She isn't even divorced yet.
Oh, you had to bring that up on the camera. This is like forever now.
Continue.
Continue, okay.
Were you the one who said don't bring attention to things and everybody glosses over it?
oh.
Dang, you're on fire, man.
Thank you, Rita.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
You are
can't
not
say it
wrong.
right. You can't say
You're right. I'm less right. It's a good point. All right, we're going to carry on now. All right. But it is your generation that actually does, and Jesse just brought up just a second ago, the huevos, the cojones. Your generation has got to open up those eyeballs and realize how, boy, I know I'm offensive when I say they're dumb. They're dumb.
My generation or politicians?
The politicians,
Okay.
they're dumb. Your generation's overly saturated with information, but you guys have a spine. It's interesting. There's a spine rolling with you people. I don't know. I'm going to go too far there. If I only had a brain. They're developing the said brain. But you need to really realize that there's not a whole lot of wiggle room with solutions. Solutions is, okay, well, the first thing we do is admit we got a problem. That's the first thing we always do. We got ourselves a problem. Okay. There's a few ways to resolve it. Let's see what common ground we can find with those that are on one end and those that are on the other. What common ground do we have? Let's put those to bed. And now let's debate what matters. Okay, so that is going to be incumbent on your generation to start voting in people that are like-minded, that are like that are solution-oriented. They're not going to toe the line because of. They're not going to just say this because of. Because right now, it's just a marketing campaign. All right, that's all it is. Mm-hmm. If you're one of our Congress people, you're not smart. You just marketed well, and you likely didn't have anything to do with that. Okay? Probably zero, honestly. All right? The only person that I've seen that has had pretty good backing monetarily and managed to mess it up on her own was Carrie Lake. Other than that, I mean, to get beat by Dobbs, that's pretty pathetic. But nonetheless, and I don't care if Dobbs was even in charge of the election. It should have been that big of a win. My point is Carrie Lake needed to find her lane. She's not a dumb person, and she's not unattractive. She's anti both those things. She's flip-flop. However,
she'd be a good leader, right?
theoretically, but she wasn't smart enough to know that she's not Trump. You can't say what Trump says and get away with it. You can be straightforward. You can be very solution-oriented, and you can keep your mouth shut when it's optimal to keep it shut. You don't have to call everybody out. You don't have to pick every fight. Pick your battles. So the one little tiny thing would have probably had a Governor Lake. And I actually think she would have been a pretty good governor. But the reality is she did not pick her battles, so therefore I don't think she would have been a very good governor because every damn thing on the planet would be a battle. And I don't want Arizona to be California, just in a different way. I'd like it to look a little bit more like Florida. DeSantis does not pick every battle. He chooses it, wins it, and goes. Smart. Solution-oriented. So spread that around and amongst all your your liberal-leaning Weird Harold friends that you go to college with, and especially your professors.
Read.
And don't do drugs.
What are you thinking, Reed?
Well, what I was thinking is that when it comes to this new generation with picking good leaders for politicians, I think a lot of the new technology that's coming with us is definitely helping with understanding who people are. Like, for example, podcasts. Because it's no like surprise to anybody that when Trump went on the Rogan podcast, that was like the biggest thing in his entire campaign. That was probably the biggest piece of like winning.
I know. And he
for
even
him.
got shot at.
Yeah.
He even got hit.
And the pick of the century. Hold this specifically.
Right. A picture of the century. But the Rogan thing, what you're
Because
saying
Rogan,
was
like
bigger.
everybody knows him and everybody knows he's real. He's going to ask questions that a normal person would ask. And they had a regular conversation with the president, essentially. And that's what we needed more of we need more of that with politics, transparency, understanding how somebody works from the ground up, from a person to a politician. Politicians have always been in front of the camera, kind of, but like having hours on end in front of a screen, it's kind of hard to pretend who you are trying to be. Instead, it's look at how much time Trump has in front of a camera, and he's been in office for like a couple months.
Yeah.
That's a good
He's
point.
like 24/7 in front of a camera now.
It's like raw. Yeah, it's like real.
It's pretty much he's live streaming his presidency.
So we trust him. The trust is built.
Go Devils.
Like everybody knows who Trump is because he
liking this.
acts consistent in front of a camera 24/7.
And he messes up, he'll say whatever. And that.
Like everybody knows that Kamala was, saying the opposite thing like every other week. So nobody knew what she actually believed
Yeah.
because she just was a husk for the government to put it in.
I like this. That's why I think that it is your generation, and from what you just said, that's why I believe this is the backbone that's coming.
Yep.
Our backbone's growing. Our rudder for our boat, for our country, she's growing a rudder. And it's your generation. And I'm pretty excited because I've been tired of dealing with millennial sons of people for a long period of time. But then what came after is like, ooh. It's kind of like the tank is clean. The tank is clean.
They're like the middle. The pendulum swung with you to the other side with millennials and back into the middle with.
Well, let's hope, because I mean it's hard for somebody your age. It's very hard to change your generation's mind on anything. Like you know better how to do this and that and the other, and then you step on your anyway. You mess up. You hit your thumb with a hammer and go, okay, maybe there's a better way of that. But you guys have. I like this generation that's coming up. There's a spine to it. There's a bite to it. From what you just
There's
said.
transparency with it too.
Yeah, they're just straight, pure honesty to it.
They step on the hammer and then they say, yeah, I stepped on the hammer.
Yeah, I hit my thumb on the hammer.
They don't care that much.
I didn't step on the hammer. I mean, that's still getting too close to my
You know what I
saying.
mean?
Hit the thumb with the hammer.
No, like they're honest about. They're not afraid. They're not ashamed of making a mistake or afraid. Or I love. Woo!
Keep it up.
Good job, Rita.
And don't do drugs.
I don't.
I know. I know. What else we got? Nothing?
What's the Dream Act?
The dreamer is the people that were brought here at a young age.
What was the Dream
Okay.
Act that you guys talked about?
It's the DACA. It's been in front of Congress 57 billion each times. It's really 5, but nonetheless, it's a lot. And it's just been getting picked at. Jesse can explain that really well, but the reality is they call them dreamers. They're people that were brought here before an age of consent or at a very young age. And so now they want the dreamers to register, but for zero benefit. And so now, also, at the same time, we have a bill rolling through Congress that is to codify or to make the DREAM Act a reality. I'm not going to weigh in on my opinion on that. Jesse said it best when he said, I'm just going to remind everybody that hung on to this pod. I'm going to remind everyone that what Jesse said, I agree with, which is the nice 12% step in the right direction. It's a nice 8% step in the right direction. It's a nice 4% step in the right direction. Jesse and I had a lot to do with that once upon a time, the act itself. It's a nice dinky step in the right direction, but it is nowhere near a solution that would be impactful. Okay, so the 60% of the Homer Simpsons out there and the Marge Simpsons out there, the 60% of those people that would just as soon see these people get deported and no big deal, why would they have due process? Why would they have this? It's what makes us America. Yeah. Okay, no, it's why no other country, which you asked, do other countries have, immigration process? Of course they do. Of course, but nobody's trying to sneak into any other country. Everybody wants to be here.
But why would they have due process if they're illegal? Like if they didn't do the due process on the front end, like why would we?
Because they're here and we're American. We're the light. We're the shining. We're the shine on the hill. And until we don't understand that, until we turn our back on that,
that's different. Yeah.
Then we cease to be America.
Absolutely.
And so we have to do that. We have to be solution oriented. It's 11:53.
That camera's about to run out of space.
And we done. You got anything else to say?
No.
Good job.
They don't call him the best color man in the world for nothing.